Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
It's going, finally, it's like, there's like this period when you start in the studio, like you come in, you're like really excited, yeah, we're in the studio again, and then like about a half hour later, it's like, oh no. And then it's like about 3 months of that kind of stuff, like the real grudge work, just doing all the drums and the basic rhythm guitars and just getting all the foundations together can sometimes not be a real uplifting kind of thing. No, but now we're like getting to the point where James is doing like vocals and starting to do a lot of the stuff that colors up all the music, and that's when it gets really exciting again. Now it's like I can finally see the light at the end of the tunnel.
North Hollywood, like, does that add something to music or what?
It takes away from it.
Does it really?
No, I mean, it's just like we just never wanted to do a record at home in San Francisco, and the earlier, like, Lightning and Puppets were made overseas because of, like, financial reasons and stuff like that. But the Justice album, we thought we'd, you know, make that closer to home. Then, like I said, we didn't really want to be in San Francisco, but L.A., you know, an hour away, you can go home. And there's just, you know, it's cool in L.A. because there's, like, when you're in the studio, you want to be able to, at least we do, we want to be able to sort of be able to get away from it.
Right, right.
And there's a lot of places you can go get away from recording in L.A.
You like the area?
No.
No?
It's too easy to have fun here.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Have you been having fun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Well, most of the fun I've had is when some of my buddies come down from up north, so, you know, I just try and keep it to a minimum.
Right on.
A few beverages on the weekend.
I get this feeling that, as far as this record goes, you are here a lot. You
I'm here
personally,
all the time.
You
Me
are
and
here all the
James, me and James are basically here all the time. That's the way it's always been. Kirk and Jason just kind of stay at home and come in when they do their parts. But I'm here all the time. Probably more than anybody wants me to do. Go home!
But you took a different approach to putting this record together. I mean, when I was reading about you guys would make these riff tapes and stuff and pass them around the band. Now you're writing songs in different ways, is that right?
Yeah, I think actually the initial part of the songwriting is pretty much the same. You know, everybody has their tapes, you know, with the bits and pieces from the last couple of years, and you know, we just sit there and me and James sit and shift through it, you know, for a couple of days and whatever, and just take the best pieces and kind of make it into songs.
Nothing is real but pain now. Oh, my breath is I wish one day. Oh, please, God, wait me.
At what point do the lyrics, do you sit down and say, okay, here's what it's about, here's the words?
It's a riff and a song title, pretty much. Kind of get them together. Kind of go through all the riff tapes, see how many good riffs we got, and this time there was quite a few. Especially since we were doing the more simpler tunes. Like one of the songs is like 2 riffs in the whole song. There's different singing over it, which is pretty cool. So we, you know, had a lot more material, and it's basically a riff and a song title, and we kind of find out how we want the lyrics to kind of fit in with how the music's going to go. If it's going to be a crusher or, you know, a nice little song. Or
The difference this time is that instead of taking, you know, like 5 riffs and cramming them all into one song, now most of the songs only really have like 1 or 2 riffs in it, so it's a little more, just kind of sticks more to one thing.
We always try to write short songs, it seems like, but we actually did it this time.
The Ride the Lightning album to Master Puppets to Injustice for All were all different albums from each other, but kind of in the same direction, and I think this album just kind of took like a sharp turn, and it's just, like I said, we wanted to for a couple of years to do something a bit different, but it just seemed like last time we kind of just got stuck in the same rut again, and this time we really did make the songs a bit shorter and a bit more compact and a bit sort of just more to the point. It just, I don't know, I think, at least for me, sometime in the middle of the last tour, it just got really boring live playing some of these like 10-minute songs that were so progressive that you always had to sit there and like think about you know, okay, this great big drum roll's coming up, or, you know, this tempo change or whatever. It just, I found that, you know, the stuff that I was more into playing live was some of the simpler stuff that was more kind of groove, you know, some of the stuff like Seek and Destroy or For Whom the Bell Tolls or that kind of stuff from our earlier albums. And it just seemed like to get back to that kind of thing now would be pretty cool.
We're standing the city tonight. We're looking for you to start up a fight. There's an evil feeling in our brains. And I'm being you know what time this is it. Running our way, hiding. You will play dying. What does it test? Running our way, hiding. You will play dying. And nothing else. So take. Let's sing and destroy. Come on, today.
How'd you guys get to work with Bob?
Bob forced himself upon us. No, actually, we've not really been too happy with any of the mixes on the last 3 albums, and we were sitting there when we started writing the songs last summer, you know, who should we get to mix this record? Because we thought, you know, we'd made the last 3 albums with Fleming Rasmussen, and we didn't see any reason why we shouldn't make this one with him. So we're sitting there talking about who we should get to mix it, and we thought one of the best sounding records for the last couple of years was the Motley Crue album that he made, Dr. Field. And to call him up and say, you know, you're interested in mixing this record? And he said, yeah, but I'd also really like to produce it if they're interested.
Yeah, they approached me to mix, and I said that, sure, but I'd like to work with them through the whole album if they were into it. And I think something like that. And you guys kind of phoned back and said, well, maybe.
Yeah. Like I told you, we were like,
maybe, and then
Peter called up and said, he wants to produce you too. I'm like, yeah, sure. We're Metallica, nobody produces us. Nobody tells us what to do. And then after a while, like, kind of got the guard down a little bit and said, well, maybe we should go hang with this guy a little bit. So we did. Me and James flew up and talked to him up in Vancouver, and we sat there and told him what we didn't like about our last couple of records, and he sat there. And it was really incredible because he had been and seen us play live at the, is it called the PNE up here? Yeah. And he like knew all about our records and stuff like that, which was really cool. So he sat there and said what he thought about how we were live and how we really didn't get that across on record and stuff like that. And it was like, we were just sitting there telling each other the same thing. And it's like, well, maybe this really could work. Plus, I mean, just he's so famous in Canada. I mean, when we came up there, it was like, the first night we went out together, went to this establishment for a couple of beverages, and we're just sitting there, and I could kind of like out the corner of my eye see like a couple of kids coming over, like, you know, pens and pieces of paper, and so, you know, okay, sign a couple autographs, and they just come over, completely ignore me and James, just, oh, Bob Rock, oh, wow, I can't believe I'm meeting you, would you sign these autographs, please? And then when Bob had signed the autographs, they just turned around and left. And it was like, me and James didn't even exist. Me and James sat there and looked at each other like, what? It's like, this guy's really famous up here. Maybe we just should hang with him, you know.
actually, when I went to see the Cult in Vancouver, they were warming up for Metallica. And when I saw the kids and I saw the band live, I had heard Justice and stuff, and the power of the band live was what I thought they were really lacking in terms of their records. I thought they were really quite cool live.
One of the things we wanted to get away from, which is one of the first things we told Bob, is we wanted the albums to be a little livelier. You know, I think our last couple of records have been really kind of sterile and really, they've been so tight and so perfect and so just on and right that I think it lost a little bit of the kind of attitude along the way. And this time around, we really wanted to go for something that was like a little livelier and had a little more attitude and a little more just life in it. And the way that we went about doing this was that instead of like playing a song once or twice and you sit there and go, gee, you know, now the, you know, red record button's on and you start stiffening up and you get really tense and it sounds like that. It's like Bob said, go out and play the song 30 times basically. So we'd sit here and play this song. Everybody would be in the room here behind me and I'd sit here and play the song 30 times. And by say maybe take 10, I would forget that I'm in a recording studio and I would like be on a stage in an arena. And then you take your mental and you just sort of, you know, remove yourself from the studio and then you get really loose and that comes across.
Bob's really cool to work with vocally. I've never really, before it's always, I've doubled all my vocals, so didn't really have room to kind of, you know, just go nuts on this part or, you know, because I'd always have to double it and it'd have to be precise. So this time we're going for more of a raw kind of, I'll just go 6 different tracks, 6 different passes, you know, get nuttier here, he'll, you know, go up here, try this part, and it's really easy and nice. It's
So
like
how
almost...
do you like this off-the-floor kind of recording?
Cool.
Yeah?
I'd love it. Almost fun.
Something's wrong, something like heavy thoughts tonight, and the honest away.
Need to breathe.
Yeah, it's better when you don't breathe.
It's better when you don't breathe.
It's got a little more anxiety to it.
Let's don't do a yeah. A yeah at the end. Do something else. Woman. All right. Okay. Child. Fire woman. Here we go.
Something's wrong, something like heavy thoughts tonight, and the honest away. Dreams of war, dreams of lies, dreams of dragons and fire, and of things that will fight. Woman.
That's kind of how I approach vocals anyway, is like really just taking performances and getting lots of performances and making them relax and stuff. Because recording is, you know, a lot of bands, when they first have an experience in the studio, it's like one of shock. And if you get a bad experience, if you get somebody that teaches you a certain way to record, you're kind of stuck with it until somebody else comes along and says, oh, no, guys, you got it all wrong. You all play in the studio together, you know what I mean? And you don't have to have anxiety about doing lead vocals. So James, we've already sang 3 songs, right? And like in terms of lead vocals, and they may in the end not be the vocals we're going to keep, but at least he's got a start at it rather than waiting till the end of it and then he's got 2 weeks to sing all the vocals that are the most important thing in his life.
It's like we've been very stuck in the same kind of rut for the last 3 albums. I mean, with Fleming, you know, we were very comfortable with it, but it was very much sort of one way, and every album we were just going to duplicate what we did the last time in terms of the process. And like, you know, what Bob's saying may sound a little silly. It's like you guys can actually be in the same room together, but it's like, it's sort of like, yeah, it's like a sort of starting over kind of a thing, and just getting away from what you've done and been stuck in before.
A lot of people have this attitude that, like with sampling, etc., and I've even been guilty of it too, is where you kind of go like, okay, I'm not going to sit and screw around with a snare drum. It may not sound the best, but I'll put a sample on it in the mix and everything will work out good. Whereas in this approach, what we did is like, we tried to match the drums every time we did a take. We spent time to make sure all the sounds were great. And actually getting the drum sound in the first place took quite a while, a lot longer than I usually do. But the results have been great. Like the other night I took home a tape and it was like there was no echo, no samples or anything, and it was a great drum sound. And that's the kind of stuff that, like, the approach to this album has been different for me too.
Hey, he's helped a lot with sounds as far as getting a overall kind of powerful sound. We've always, me and Lars have always done most of this stuff, so as you can tell on Justice, you can, like Bob said, you can tell who mixed it, who was there for the mix. You know, it was all guitar and all drums. So we're going to try and get the other 2 guys in here this time.
Was I reading where you, there was parts of the studio that you had reconstructed, or you?
Yeah, well, you see over there, if you can see over there, that's James's guitar booth over there, and that's not up when we were doing the drums, but all along the walls up here, we brought in all these big, great sheets of plywood and stuff like that to really try and like liven up the room. We took down all the stuff that was hanging up in the ceiling, these kind of foamy things.
Oh, yeah?
And just, you know, I mean, a lot of the plywood stuff is down now, but we had it all the way from over where that carpet starts all the way up here, and it just gave an incredible ambience in the rooms. You can see they're like mics
Oh, yeah,
all
yeah.
the way up there. They're mics there. All those are drum mics, which are just to get like that really, you know, you have all the stuff closed mic here, and then you have all the mics in the back of the room and stuff that pick up on the ambience. You get that huge drum sound.
A lot of bands will kind of like, you know, do the same thing over and over, and when Metallica tell me they want to get melodic and they want to, you know, they want to simplify and they want to, you know, strengthen these certain things, I thought, well, here's these guys that have struggled for such a long time to get to someplace, and now that they're there, you know, it would be so easy for them to just take what they've had a little bit further and put it out, and I'm sure that they could sell another 5 million records and everything would be fine. But no, they're going to take a chance. And I find that, but when I work with artists, people that like to do that, that's what I want to do.
You know, the bottom line is that I think if you sit there and, you know, obviously we've had a lot of very positive, you know, critical acclaim, you know, and stuff like that, and a lot of people obviously always watching us, but I think we have this ability to shut that out when we sit down and write and stuff like that, and we're never really, I don't know, for some reason we just were able to not worry about the fact that everybody's like looking at us because, you know, and just sort of, now we want to do this and we don't really worry about, well, what's so-and-so going to think, and, you know, this group of people, you know, and that group. I mean, I think once you start worrying about all that stuff, then you're just going to start, you know, running around in circles, and it's like a never-ending thing where you just always, if you're always trying to please somebody, I mean, we just please ourselves, and that's worked so far for the last 10 years.
It's more positive this time around. It's you know, it's heavy, but it's not the death doom kind of negative kind of thing we had going on the Justice. Justice was more kind of complaining about things. I think this one's kind of accenting the good stuff, mainly about America, how, you know, life is here. Don't tread on me, kind of a not really pro-America, but just how, I mean, it's kind of untimely with the war and all that. You know, we had this kind of idea before that, and now, you know, there's going to be a couple bands writing about the war, you know, social topic shit, which is, it's pretty popular now.
Very aggressive kind of music. I mean, it's not depressing or violent or anything. It's just a feel. It's very exhilarating.
Great, everyone. Come see us.
I think it was thrashier before. Now it's more melodic, and maybe it's more accessible. But it doesn't matter because they're the best band anyway.
How much money you got with you?
Yeah. Well, we could chip in. I don't know. You got anything like?
Well, gee, there's Randy.
We never rehearsed this.
This is Randy Staub,
He's
another
from Toronto.
Canadian. Yeah.
From Toronto.
I'm actually like
Give us
outnumbered
a
by
wave.
Canadians right now, 3-1.
All right. Did you want a Metallica t-shirt
Metallica
before the
silk
project?
shirt, Metallica silk shirts. Yeah, it's mandatory studio wear.
Phone Brockham. So, what is this track we're gonna kind of listen to if we can? hear
Gee,
it?
I don't know, what is it?
What is it?
This is Sandman. Enter Sandman.
Enter Sandman?
The mouth of Stout.
No vocal on it yet.
No.
How heavy?
I'll sing it for you. See how heavy it is?
And of course, it's not mixed. So people at home and it's coming to your, it's like, it's just
There's no vocals.
there's nothing here.
You can hear there's nothing. 1, 2, 10.
you've mellowed out quite a bit.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm almost falling asleep. But no, I can see what you mean. They will slow it down a bit and let you stretch out a bit. Is this what we talked about earlier?
Well, as you can hear, the drums just kind of...
Your feet aren't moving as much on the bass.
Yeah, and the drums are just kind of more getting a kind of a groove thing going and not being so busy. And, you know, it's something I really wanted to do from the beginning with all the songwriting and stuff like that. And I think it's come together really well. The guitars speak, do all the talking, and the drums just kind of hang in the background and keep the time and stuff, and I'm really happy about that. Making videos for me is not really something that I'm like really used to yet, and I don't really know how there's the good ones go and how the bad ones go, and how to monitor what goes on and with the end result and all that stuff. So it's like, it's still very much like a learning experience. The feeling was that the footage that we got of the band was something that was definitely cool, and it was very unique.
Is this going to be...
Well, we can roam, but I want to concentrate on this, but we can roam around. You know, you want to play...
Well, I mean, I could just, you know, most of the shit, I'll just be doing this, you know.
Do that.
We have a concept, and they're shooting all the stuff that ties in with our performance, you know, when we're sitting here mixing. So it's like, I have no idea what it looks like, so. But, you know, I have a lot of confidence in the people that we're working with. The bottom line is that a year ago when we started writing these songs and had, you know, started getting like the visions for the record and stuff like that, you know, it's turned out like I had expected, times about 10.